Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kamil Kuźmiak and in today's episode we're gonna be building a cinema rig for the Sony Fx30. Let's get to it. A few years ago I made a video about my first cinematic rig. It used to be a Sony A6500. It was the camera I was using until today to make all of my videos and my client work and everything. However, after many years I decided it's time for an upgrade because as far like 4K 24 frames per second, I'm very happy with this setup. However, if I want to shoot some slow motion clips for my music videos, for example, the Sony A6500 doesn't do 4K 60 frames per second. It also doesn't do 4K 120 frames per second. You can only do it in 1080p. However, it's not even a sharp and crisp 1080p because in 1080p 60 frames per second there is some ugly line skipping that makes the image look very pixelated. There is some moire and it doesn't look very well. In 4K 120 it looks a little bit better, but it's cropped in and it's not that sharp. When I mix it together and when I make a music video, you can clearly see the difference in quality between the regular shots and the slow motion shots. I don't like it, and for many years I was craving to have this crispy slow motion in my camera. However, the only cameras that could provide that was the Sony full frame cameras like Sony a7S III for example, or the FX3. But since Sony a6700 and the FX30 we can finally have it. The other thing that I was really craving for years was 10-bit color, because I wanted to experiment with color grading a little bit more and take the full advantage of flat profiles like S-Log3, and that's why I'm really happy that I upgraded to the Fx30. I think it's a great camera and I'm not gonna be getting rid of my old camera. I will keep it for stills, for photography, because Sony Fx30 it's not really good for photography. It doesn't have the EVF and mechanical shutter. Sony a6500 it's still great for taking stills, so I will remove it off the cage. I will remove the external battery plate. I will put the regular Sony battery and I will put the camera into some nice leather case and throw on some small prime lens like 35mm, and this will be a camera that I carry around every day with me to take pictures instead of taking them with my phone. So I'm gonna use it for photography. However, it will be my backup camera as well in case anything would happen to the Fx30 or I would need to film an interview using two cameras. I can always use this one and the new one to create two angles and color match them in post. I think it's not worth it to sell it because the resale value of A6500 is not that high anymore, but the production value that it still has, it's quite great, I think so. Okay, so now we're gonna unbox the camera and all the other accessories I have for it, and we're gonna start building the cinema rig, so let's do it. As you can see, the seal is already broken because I had to check everything in the shop. It's a little bit of a fake unboxing today, but it is what it is. So first we have some papers. In the second compartment we have the USB-C charging cable. Here we have some power delivery cable for the charging unit. Here we have our Sony battery, little charging brick for charging the camera. I'm not gonna be using that charging method because I bought some replacement batteries from Newer. It's two batteries with a charger. I can use USB-C, I can charge two batteries at the same time, so I have two original batteries and two replacement batteries. Our main unit, Sony Fx30 in all its glory. I need to put on the screen protector that I bought. For now I will just keep the screen closed. Okay, so every rig starts with the cage. Before I used the small rig cage for my old rig, but this time I decided to go with the Tilta cage. We have the cage, we have the HDMI clamp, we have the top plate with the NATO rail and the cold shoe adapter that we're gonna use to attach the handle to. and we have some mounting screws. Okay, so this cage comes in two sections, so I think it can be a full cage and the half cage at the same time. We can just unscrew those two Allen key screws here, and then my favorite thing, the little magnetic coin that you can use to unscrew all the fixes. That's something that will come in handy very often, especially when I use the Roniness and stuff. I always keep a 5p coin with me, and this one I will never lose. So yeah, I really like this solution from Tilta. I think that's very clever. We need to put the screws in to hold it in place. So let's start with the bottom one. I'm not gonna tighten it all the way before I don't put all of them in. It's nice and reassuring that we are mounting the cage with such a big screws. Before, with the Sony A6500 and similar cameras, we only had one screw here and then very small screw attaching the strap loop with the cage here, so that seems way more secure now. Technically, you don't need the cage for this camera because you can attach the top handle directly to the camera. You have a lot of mounting points to attach your accessories. However, I personally believe it's always worth it because cage is not that expensive. This one is like 70 pounds and it's really protecting the camera from damaging. I even had one situation when I fall down with my Sony A6500 and it hit the floor and only the cage was scraped, not the camera. Okay, now we have all of the screws in so we can fix them properly. HDMI door is here, so I think the clamp goes like here, like this. The top plate there is this locking mechanism, very simple, quick release for the cold shoe mount as well for the monitor. I think that's nice. It's looking pretty cool. It's looking way better than my small rig handle. The old one looked a little bit like mountain bike handlebar or something, but yeah, this one looks a bit more aggressive and interesting. There is some mounting points on it, both here and on the top of the handle. Okay, so we just slide that in and we close it down with this lever. It seems very secure, it's not moving at all. Yeah, I'm quite confident in that attachment. I like this solution instead of having handle that is like permanently screwed in with the screws, because when I'm gonna be putting the camera on the gimbal I will be removing the handle. There is actually two ways I can put it on, because I can have it like that and attach the monitor to the 1/4 inch thread here, or I can put it the other way around like this. Okay, and now I can add the monitor here. For the memory cards, I decided to go for the CF Express cards because I want to be able to take the full advantage of all the highest codecs, and the Sony TAF CX Express cards are quite pricey, so I decided to go with the Per Gear cards. I think it's a great value for money proposition because I paid like £150 for 260 gigabytes, minimum write speed is 400 megabytes, and it goes up to like 700, 800, so you can shoot in the highest possible video settings, which is the 4K 120 frames per second XAVCSI codec in the SMQ mode, which is the most demanding settings in terms of the write speed. I was a little bit worried to buy a card from less popular brand, but because this camera has two slots, if I'm gonna be shooting something very important, I will put two of those cards and I will be filming on both cards simultaneously. Thanks to that, I'm gonna have a backup, so the chances that both cards will fail on me at the same time are pretty small, so that's a bit more reassuring. And basically for the price of one, something like 160 gigabytes Sony TAF CF Express card, I bought two 260 gigabyte cards. So yeah, I think that's a great bargain actually. It came in a nice wooden box. and with some cool microfiber cloth. You can never have enough of those, so I'm sure it will come in handy. Okay, we have the card in the little box. There is already one card inside because I was testing it before, so now we're gonna put the card into second slot, so it goes in like this. I also bought a card reader for the CF Express cards. It's nice and small, it's made of aluminum. It was a bit cheaper than the original Sony SD card reader, actually quite a bit cheaper. I've seen some tests online and it looks like it's working pretty well, so we're gonna test that later, but I hope it will be serving me just fine. And I have two cables for it, the USB-C to USB-C and USB-C to USB Type-A. It's nice and small, I think it's gonna be quite handy. I also went with the tempered glass screen protector, but I will deal with that later. I also have my old Viltrox monitor. It's like 480p monitor. It's good enough for framing, and for now I don't have anything better, so we're gonna use this one. It's Viltrox DC50 if I remember correctly. Before I was using this NPF battery plate and I was powering the camera through the dummy battery, and I was powering the monitor through the DC cable from the output here. And because now I'm gonna be using only the Sony system batteries, I'm not gonna be using this attachment. I'm gonna have to use dedicated battery for this monitor. I have like 4 of them, so I should be fine. I also have the little mounting bracket for it. I bought a new cable because A6500 had a mini HDMI cable, so I had to go with the full-size HDMI this time. I also have the rapid filter system for my ND filters, so when you go from outside to indoors you can just pop that open, and then when you go outside again you just close it. Okay, so we're gonna use this top mounting bracket now. We need to press the button of the quick release. Now we can secure it with the screw. There is a little sun cover. Oh, I didn't clean that for ages. It opens like that. Okay, so now my cinema rig is ready, and now we're gonna disassemble the old cinema rig and change my old video camera into photography camera right now. For some reason it seems wrong to disassemble this rig. It's like, feels a little bit like losing an old friend, but this camera is not going anywhere. I will still be using it, but for some reason it feels strange. I filmed so many things with it, and now it will get well-deserved retirement. I will still be using it for stills and stuff, so it's not going anywhere. I will keep this cage just in case I'm gonna have to use the Sony A6500 as my backup. It's funny how tiny this camera is without any rig. It's literally not much bigger than the Sony ZV-1 or something. This is Sigma 56mm. I think I will buy some shorter lens for everyday photography, maybe some 24 or 35mm, 1.8 or something like that. Actually, I have two options to mount the monitor, because I can attach the handle like this, and then I can use this hot shoe to mount the monitor, but then it's a little bit front heavy when you hold the handle like that. So I realized I have this hot shoe from my old rig, so I just added this hot shoe to the back of the handle, and now I can mount the handle like this. The balance seems to be a little bit better and more convenient that way. We can add the Rode video mic, when the microphone is on like that without any extended arm, it's a little bit awkward to use the handle. Then I need to hold the camera like this with my hands at the bottom. But I also have this arm that I can mount to the side of the camera, but for now I wanted to make it a little bit more compact. It would be better with like a smaller microphone that is not taking so much space here. I mean, potentially it could work on the tripod. Maybe in this configuration it would be better if I put my monitor here on the other side, and now it works with the microphone mounted. So that's like more compact version of the setup. I can use the handle, but now let's use the extended arm to make a little bit more convenient version of the setup. I have this little extension arm. I can put it on the side of the camera. Plug the HDMI cord for the monitor and secure it with the HDMI clamp. Okay, now the HDMI cable is nice and secure, so we can plug the microphone jack as well. And let's plug the HDMI into the monitor. And there you have it, guys. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for today's vlog. If you had fun, don't forget to leave the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel because there is more content on the way. And see you in the next one.